We are honoring Coach Edgar and Marcus Brown tonight, but all of our teams and all of our coaches and each individual player that has ever come through this program has had a part in making this such a great place to be. Take just a moment and look up at the banners in the rafters here at the CFSB Center. Appreciate the consistency of this great program. We have these banners to be proud of because of the individuals standing right now. So let's give them one more round of applause. You can be seated, guys. Thank you. We have a great night planned to celebrate Racer basketball. I will begin releasing the tables to the buffet line. We have 6 buffet lines, so don't be shy. We're going to get you through there pretty quickly. But please first join us and welcome former racer Scott Sibbles to the podium to bless this food and bless this evening of fellowship together. Coach Sibbles.
Good evening. Before I pray, I want to say how it's an honor to be here. It's an honor to be here with my former teammates. It's an honor to be a part of Marcus. I had a chance to play with Marcus for 1 year, but it was an honor. The way he carried himself on and off the floor, I want to thank him for that and staying close to him. I want to thank my former coach, Edgar. I wouldn't be the man and the coach today if it wasn't for what he did for not only me, but my teammates. It was a grueling, hard lesson in many ways, but as a man today, he made us into the men today that we were young men back then, so I want to thank him for everything. Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight with much gratitude. Gratitude for the opportunity to gather together as colleagues, friends, both old and new, and Racer fans. We are thankful for this university and especially for the many people through years who have such a positive impact on the men's basketball program and Racer athletics. We praise you for the ability that many of us have to continue to support the young men who have carried on such a rich tradition that we all hold so dear. Thank you for the people who made tonight possible. Let us remember to show appreciation and love to all people we come across. And most importantly, let us listen to you, because until you speak, nothing of significance is spoken. Give us your guidance and your word. Bless this food this day. And we pray, amen.
And I'm going to run this thing for 10 minutes, and I promise you I'm going to be out of here so we can get to the main event, which is Marcus Brown and Coach Edgar. Murray State has a special place for me. I've been a lifelong Murray State fan. My godfather, Jim Carter, played here, played with the great Howie Crittenden 60 years ago in 1955. And he grew up just always telling me great stories about his time here at Murray State and what it meant to him and how great of a player he was. And I'm sure at the time, you know, he was kind of from the Larry Suter line of fanhood. You know, Larry, when Isaiah Cannon played here, Larry had an answer. Whenever things, whether they're going well or not, you could count on hearing Larry say, "Shoot the ball, sip." And he wanted Isaiah shooting that ball. Well, my godfather was the same way. He always said, "Shoot the ball, Matt, shoot the ball." That was his answer for everything. Just shoot more. He didn't care about defense. And then he'd talk about his stories back at Murray State, how he would shoot these 30-foot jump shots. And if they would have had a three-point line back in his day, he would average 30 points a game. Well, I'm sure at the time he had no idea I'd end up coaching here. Because once I got here, I got access to all those records he told me about. And I called Dave Winder, and my godfather, Jim Carter, who told me all these great stories growing up, took 9 shots in his career at Murray State, was 3 for 9 for 9 points. And for 16 years growing up, he sold me on he was the best player ever to come out of here. You know, my next story where I really was involved here with Murray State was, and Popeye, I hate to put your age out there, But as a 12-year-old boy growing up in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, I was in Knoxville in 1990 when the 16-seeded Racers were playing the number 1 seeded Michigan State Spartans. And on that day, you saw the highlight, almost became the first 16 seed to beat a 1. But I was in the stands with my dad and my family watching Popeye Jones score 37 points and 11 rebounds in one of the best performances in Murray State history. So with that being said, it's just a great honor for me to be here. I want to really start by recognizing some former players. That's what this event's all about. And I probably should start by thanking Coach Prohm. Number one, for bringing me here to Murray State and giving me an opportunity to be a part of this great program. And then number two, Coach Prohm's the reason this Hoopalooza event was started up 3 years ago. And it was really important for him to bring all the former players and coaches and the incredible fan base together and celebrate the championship tradition that is Murray State. So I want to thank Coach Prohm for that and allowing me to be a part of it. That's why I'm here today. And this program has always been and always will be about the great players at Murray State. And here in this room represented tonight, we have 3 two-time national All-Americans, and Isaiah Cannon, Bernie Purcell, and Popeye Jones. And no offense, it's your night. We're here to honor you, Marcus, but you were only a one-time All-American, my man. But to have 4 All-Americans represented here tonight is really special. We have 3 retired jerseys represented here. Obviously Marcus, Popeye, and Benny, and then hopefully Mr. Cannon one of these days. 7 of the 18 OVC Player of the Years are represented here today. And then that's Marcus, Popeye, Isaiah, and the great Aubrey Reese. All right, here representing the Players of the Year. All right, then also I wanted to touch on our 14-15 players from this past season. We had all 4 players who left the program are now playing professionally. And really it's a great honor to announce the past week TJ Sapp has signed a contract in Germany. Jarvis Williams is signed to go to Poland. We know about Cameron Payne and his journey as a lottery pick with the Oklahoma City Thunder. And then we have Jonathan Farrell, who's here tonight. Where are you at, Jonathan? Stand up, Jonathan Farrell. Jonathan just signed a contract to go to Austria and had a great senior year for us, and probably on top of all his great basketball accomplishments, wanted to let everyone know Jonathan was awarded the OVC Commissioner's Medal for a perfect 4.0 GPA here in his last semester. And then the great thing about this event is we have players spanning over 65 years of Murray State basketball represented here tonight. I'd like to recognize one of our players, a guy we're counting on this season to be a senior leader, and that's Jeffrey Moss. He's here with us tonight. Where are you at, Jeffrey? In all the great history of Murray State, Jeffrey, with 1 year eligibility to go, is the 43rd all-time leading scorer in school history. He's 32 points away from joining the 1,000-point club. And Jeffrey, we're giving you 2 games to get that done, or you're getting suspended for 2 weeks. So come out firing. All right, this is obviously a place that has had some of the greatest coaches in college basketball history, and a couple of them are here represented tonight. I want to start with Coach Ron Green. Where's Coach Green? Sitting down here in front. Coach Green, you know, as I talk to Racer basketball historians, they all tell me he's the one who really laid the foundation and set the standard for this current 30 to 35 year run of dominance. And it started with Coach Green when he came back to Murray State, won 3 regular season championships, was the 2-time OVC Conference Coach of the Year. And then this year, Coach Green will be inducted as a 2016 honoree into the Murray State Hall of Fame. So congratulations, Coach Green. We have Coach Tavester Anderson. My man, Coach T, is in the house. And we really appreciate you coming back, Coach T. You know, Murray State's been to 15 NCAA tournaments, and Coach T is responsible for 2 of them. He also won 2 regular season titles and was the 1999 OVC Coach of the Year. So we thank you for coming back to celebrate with us tonight, Coach. And then tonight's honoree is Coach Scott Edgar, and I'm going to save you for last, Coach, and introduce you here at the end. We have a lot of support staff here. I want to start with our managers. We have former managers from the last 50 years here represented tonight. And one I want to pick on is Terrence Miles, because he's the longest standing manager in Murray State history. 9 years he served. And Alan, you're going to be upset when I share this, but I was bored on the plane home from Canada last night, and I calculated it. He's cost you $32,000 in free meals and hotel stays over his 9 years. But we all love T-Money. Representing our administrative assistants over the years, we have Miss Cheryl Whitaker here tonight. All right. Dr. Blaylock is here. Dr. Blaylock, 34 years of service for our student athletes, will be recognized in the Murray State Hall of Distinction, along with Coach Green going into the Hall of Fame this year. And then our trainer is here, Eric Frederick, been here 50, 60 years, been a part of 12 championship teams, and has the most rings in Murray State history, along with the greatest announcer, as you heard that call when DeNiro Thomas hit the shot against Vanderbilt in the tournament, is Neil Bradley is here with us tonight, the best in the business. And then I'd like to introduce our staff before I get to our thank yous. James Kane has been a huge part of our success over the last 4 seasons. Thrilled to have him back with us to keep this tradition going. We were fortunate to hire Coach Shane Nichols. Coach Nichols was a really good player at Wofford College, comes to us from Hofstra University. Thrilled to welcome him to Murray State. We have Tim Kane, comes to us from Georgia Southern. I've known Tim for 30 plus years. Excited to have him here, his wife Jenny, their daughter Tori, and then they have a newborn. They'll have a Murray State baby here in September on the way. So welcome our new staff. And he always makes me save him for last, but former Murray State player and our graduate assistant, Jawan Long, is here with us. And as always is required when introducing Jawan, 2012 OVC Defensive Player of the Year. And really the best defensive player I've been around in my 20 years. So that's our staff for the year. We don't have Coach David Land, our strength coach, is not here with us, but excited to have him as well. All right, I'm winding down, don't worry. All right, and then I got a new tradition. I was excited. I was walking around here. We had an unbelievable summer camp. So I looked around, and we got some of our summer campers here with us tonight, and they're going to have to stand and be recognized. I see Trevor Newell. Please stand up, Trevor. I see Addie Purvine, Elliot Frederick, Lane Latimer, and Coleman Amos. We have 5 campers here celebrating with us tonight, so I wanted to recognize them. All right, now let me get to my thank yous. First of all, I'm going to start with Dr. Davies and Alan Ward. Obviously, I'm indebted to them for having confidence in me to be the next man to lead the program forward. I can't thank you enough for the opportunity. We'll work extremely hard every day and make sure we don't let you down. I want to thank Steve Harrell for all his work he's put into this event and making it a first-class operation. He already thanked his staff. My wife, Mary, I didn't forget about you. I got you on here. I'm going to introduce my wife, Mary. And my dad was here, but one thing you learn quick, my daughter had a birthday party, and that took priority over me being up here. So he ran to pick her up from the birthday party. But I'm thankful for him being here. And then this is really my first opportunity since the press conference to thank the Racer Nation, the Murray, Kentucky community for the overwhelming support of me and my family, not only in my 4 years here, but since taking over as head coach back in June. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. It means the world to me. I'm honored to be your head coach.
Thank you, Coach. I know we have a whole room of Racer fans here that just can't wait for November, but trust me, the lights only get brighter. So, our first guest tonight is Coach Scott Edgar, and with both of our honorees tonight, I wouldn't do you justice if I did the introduction, so we have a special video for you. Coach Edgar.
Scott Edgar joined the Murray State Racers as its 10th head coach in 1991. The energy and style of play Coach Edgar brought to the Racers is something that has never been forgotten. Pressure defense and fast offense. The running Racers were a thrill to watch. Scott Edgar coached the Racers 4 seasons from 1991 to 1995 with 79 wins and a 774 OVC winning percentage. The Racers won 3 straight OVC regular season titles, played in 2 NCAA tournaments, and 1 NIT. Popeye Jones, Marcus Brown, and Vincent Rainey were just some of the great players that Edgar guided. Indeed, the early 1990s was a terrific time to be a Racer, and it was the perfect time for Scott Edgar to be our coach. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Coach Scott Edgar.
I was told, I'm promising not as long as last year, okay? But I was told 15 minutes, and you know me, I could cry about my team that long. Some of those workouts, I could get my tongue going that long. We don't do that anymore. But we're going to try to keep it, we're going to keep it real, okay? My family's here. Elaine, my wife. Nothing's changed. She still runs the show, so nothing's changed. My son Scott, his friend Beth Fleming, and my dear friends from Cape Girardeau, Missouri, Ann and Cord Dombrowski. I've been blessed with the family and blessed with the friendship. Coach, you kind of drifted off, but I don't know where you are. We know you're going to win, okay? But what we don't know yet is which of your predecessors are you going to emulate on the sideline? Because Murray's had different kinds now. Coach Green, believe it or not, he looks like a stately gentleman tonight. He could get it rolling on the sidelines. We all know that. We remember Luther. Coach Newton was kind of cool. I did my thing. Coach came in from California. He kind of laid back a little bit. And we had, I'm going to get to Tevester in a second. He reminds me of Nola Richardson a little bit. We had Coach Cronin, and trust me, I was so happy when y'all hired Cronin because that made you forget what I did on the sidelines. So, hats off to Cronin coming in. And then we had Billy. Billy's hair's never moved. And we had Coach Steve. But now we had, but then in there, I worked for Nola Richardson, and when he would get mad, he'd roll up his sleeves and start cussing at the referee in Mexican. And Sylvester, he used to work out, and he's still very, very physically fit. He got mad, he'd roll up his sleeves and cuss at the referee in South Mississippian. Now, if you ever had a South Mississippian cussing, you've had one. So we got to figure out how you're going to be, Coach. That's pack the house the first night, but you're going to do well. You're on track. You've got a wonderful program here, one of the finest in the country. The only thing you don't get to do is coach in the best arena in the country, and that was Racer Arena. There's just so many. You know, I've been around a little bit. I've been everywhere but Duke. Been everywhere, and no place was like Racer Arena. I wasn't much for socializing with the opposing coaches, but what I liked to do, we had that heat so high in there, and you people let me do it. I'd wait for the opposing coach to bring his team in the night before, and just as soon as they'd walk in, they'd like, oh gosh, is it hot in here? And I knew we had it going by then. And then the cool thing was, you got to run them up and down the floor, and then they had to go to the press conference in the same booth up top. So you had a chance to kick their ass on the floor. Then you had a chance to talk about right beside them how you kicked their ass. And that was always fun. And in the meantime, I was on edge a lot, I admit. But Kenny Roth kept it all wound up. It was like, Coach, did you hear what he said about this? And then Sybil was the same thing. Coach, did you hear what he said about that? So you can attribute those two guys to a lot of reasons why Coach Edgar was up and down that sidelines a little bit. Now we're going to get real, okay? Popeye Jones, love him to death. Love him to death. A lot of people never make it to college coaching, okay? I made it, and I had a chance to coach a pro my first year. But I was green. I was green as grass. Remember, I got lost coming here. I ended up in Martin, Kentucky, or Martin, Tennessee. So I sure didn't know where Dresden was. Well, we're here, and it's 100 degrees, just like it is now, and we're running, and we're running, and we're running. Popeye's not losing no weight. But every night, I'm in the backyard with Scott William. I'm working him out. He's doing the agility drills and all this, bless his little heart. And I see going down the highway, Popeye, Bo Walden, and Frankie Allen every night. I don't know what's going on. I'm young. I'm thinking Dresden's down the highway. And I said to someone, I said, man, Popeye's a heck of a guy. He takes everybody home at nighttime. I said, what do you mean? I said, I see him driving past my house. Bo's waving to you. Frankie's sitting there bold as heck, and that's why he can make all those late game shots. I said, he takes the fellas to Dresden every night because my mama's cooking. I said, Coach, you stupid. They go to the Red Apple every night. I said, what's a Red Apple? He said, Coach, back then Murray was dry. You go to Red Apple every night, get a little burger and some refreshments. So I said, Kenny Roth, I said, man, we got to go see this. So we drive down, and Kenny knew how to do it. He said, Coach, let me go in and see if Bo's in there first. Then we won't have to deal with Popeye. We'll deal with Bo and tell Popeye, let that teach you a lesson. But, and I got one on Brown too. Love him to death. Before I go further, this night is not about Marcus and me, okay? This night is about Marcus and everybody who was here in the stands and all my players. Their name should be on that ball. Because as I go on, I know it was far more of you and way less of me. Way less. Far more and way less. And the short amount of time I have will not give me due diligence to thank everybody for everything that they did. And in the same time, there's not enough time for me to extend some sincere apologies to some people who, due to pride and due to, the tongue's a two-edged sword now. And sometimes that tongue got in the way. For me to apologize to some of the people who I offended. And I mean both of those from the bottom of my heart. So blessed to be part of what happened here. Undescribable. Every place I've been a few places since. Nothing compares. The only team I follow, we left, but our but our hearts didn't leave. Took me for a great ride, a tremendous ride through the OVC, NCAA tournaments, all those kind of things. Like I said, inherited an NBA player, but coached many NBA people. Don't have finer people than the ones that I coached.
Thank you for joining us tonight. and for all your contributions to this program. Thank you. Don't worry, Marcus is not going to have the last word. Coach Roth is. So our next speaker, Hall of Fame racer, Marcus Brown.
Marcus Brown came to Murray State in 1992 out of West Memphis, Arkansas. When he left in 1996, Marcus was a two-time OVC Player of the Year and three-time All-OVC selection. He was the undeniable force that no team in the OVC had an answer for. For Marcus, the stats didn't mean a thing. This was about winning, and he did plenty of that in a racer uniform, leading the Racers to 3 straight OVC titles. When Brown left Murray State, he was the 3rd all-time leading scorer with 2,236 points and tops in steals. His 26.4 average in 95-96 is still the racer record. His 45 points against Wash U in 1995 is still the single game mark at Murray State. And after being drafted by the NBA's Portland Trail Blazers, Brown was the top American scorer in his 13 years in the EuroLeague. Brown came back to Murray State in 2010, where he was inducted into the Murray State Hall of Fame and had his number 5 jersey retired. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Marcus Brown.
Enough has been said, but thank you so much for honoring me, honoring Coach. This tradition, the rich history, Coach touched on it. What can I say? I came here a skinny kid from West Memphis, and I met such great people, great families. Enough time doesn't do it justice. I got to do my roll call. I wouldn't be right, but we didn't mention my mom. I said I wasn't going to cry. Last time I was up here and I cried, it was like a Jerry Maguire moment. So, also my dad, I think enough credit is not given to him. For helping me. I thank him so much. My wife, she puts up with me. We're still a basketball family, so the late night practices and coming in, and then my kids are here, Brooklyn and Carter. So please give them a round of applause, because Coach E, what can I say? It almost didn't happen. Tell you a little bit about Coach. Too much doesn't, it doesn't take too much to set him off. So, he's walking around. I'm a skinny kid. I played with the Arkansas Wings, the AAU group. They were recruiting a guy named Corliss Williamson, who went on to the NBA, and he's strutting around in the Arkansas stuff, and I'm like, man, how can I get to Arkansas? So I got to do something to make these guys, see me. So he goes on. We win a state championship. He's correct on that. And he goes on to Murray State. So, Coach Ross starts calling me. Coach Edgar starts calling me. So, all right, so let's see what he got. So they come down to a game in West Memphis. And they double team, and I play like crap and everything like that. And halftime comes. Oh, Scott, he bolts off. Oh, he's playing like crap, Kenny. I don't know what's going on. So he leaves. Well, long story short, Boo gets back. I ended up hitting 2 game-winning free throws to win the game, and then Boo's like, Coach, you should have stayed and saw him play. Well, my mom saw him leave. And so she gets all on Boo like, hey man, what's going on in here? You're supposed to be here recruiting my son. You better come back and see him. So, he's right about, those, butt whoopings and my mom getting on him, but, Murray State, it almost didn't happen. So, Ollie's here, Jared Martin. Obviously, if you're trying to tell the Scott Edgar story, you're going to have to like beep, 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 beep it out. So, or either we're going to have to call a general session for prayer, because if I'm going to drop some stories, I definitely have to drop a couple bombs. So, but one of the stories I wanted to tell you was we were in practice, and Boo's going to get me for this one, but it's one of the infamous bustle stories. So we were going on in practice, and we were getting ready, I think, for Austin P. And coach is on one of his tirades, and he's talking about denying the lane and so forth. Bustle's supposed to be our defensive stopper, so the Bustle's not getting the job done. So Scott goes over to him. He's, Bustle, you're not boob. You ain't doing boob. Get your boob up there and guard the horse. Where there's a horse up in the old racer arena up there, and Bustle, true story, and Bowman knows, Silver knows, Bustle goes up and gets in a defensive stand and guards the horse. So, what can I say about the guy, man? He pushed us to the limit. He demanded the max from us, and he helped a lot of us along the way understand what basketball, sports athletic, and life skills was all about. He taught us discipline. He taught us, what character was and what it was to build a family-type atmosphere. I got another one for you. All right, got another one for you. All right, so Matt Harris comes in. We're Big Jug. All right, Matt comes in, and he's a freshman. And coach comes up with this thing about he takes out all the air in the ball and puts in water. So everybody passes the ball around. It's like, feel the ball, man, so you'll know what's going on. Well, Matt doesn't feel the ball. We get in a three-man weave, and we toss the ball high as you can in the air, and you got to catch it, make your hands stronger. Well, we go three-man weave, and Matt goes, and somebody tosses it to him, and he goes straight through his hands, true story, and knocks him out. Coach just touched on a lot about, the ones that gone on before us, and let's just remember past and former racers, and just keep this tradition alive. I thank God, and if you're not a believer, you need to be. So, Murray State, I love you. Thank you. See you next year, and God bless you. Thank you.
You can't call me out like that and not give me an opportunity. All I can think about when I got here tonight, you saw some of the team pictures. If we could retake a team picture with Coach's new hairdo, I would not be the only blind in the team. He's running that new blonde look now. No, it is great to be back, even if I get picked on a little bit. But I couldn't not be back. First of all, I lost my dad a couple of years ago, and no one loved Murray State like my dad, and he would have loved to have been here tonight. And he would have loved to have been here tonight because of special people like Scott Edgar and Marcus Brown. They epitomize what athletics and life are all about. And Marcus said it best. He said, Coach taught life skills. And I think that's probably the greatest lesson that I received from Coach Edgar when I was here, is that life, like athletics, is about seasons. And there are some seasons where you win championships, and there are some seasons where you get your butt kicked. But the measure and the courage of a true champion is how you handle each of those seasons. And not only Coach Edgar, but I mean, we see decades of coaches that have demonstrated that, and you see what the players have gone on to do. So, while it's an opportunity for me. I feel like I learned so much about life while I was here at Murray State. So, I appreciate the opportunity. I really want to tell some stories on Marcus, but the thing that you realize is these stories lose some of their luster when you have to edit them. So, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thanks, Coach. Love it. Appreciate it.
One thing that was interesting to me tonight when we walked in was that I was shocked that I was in a Murray State arena with Scott Edgar and it wasn't 85 degrees. Because his little dark secret that he had through the years was when the visiting team would come in and shoot at 2, and the home team would shoot at 3. Coach Edgar would go by, and coaches always have a home court advantage, and the sixth man is their team. Well, his sixth man was the thermostat. And he turned that thing up to 85, and by the time 7:30 got around, you couldn't breathe in Racer Arena. So I was shocked, as cool as it was here. Scott and I got to know each other at University of Arkansas, and a lot of people don't know what a national figure he was as an assistant coach at Arkansas. Was a dynamic recruiter, recruited a Final Four team, recruited a national championship team that he left to come to Murray State. And my role there was a grad assistant, was to live in the dorm with them, walk them to class, and make sure they stayed out of the newspapers. But he was the one that put those teams together at Arkansas, and should get a lot of credit for that. As we got here the very first year at Murray State, the honeymoon didn't last very long. As we started out 3-9, and 3-9 at Murray State doesn't go too well. And so we found out soon that there was a big guy, number 54, down in the low block that really wasn't ready for the 40 minutes of hell yet. And so we better throw him to basketball. And that team ended up winning 11 out of 12, winning the conference outright, 1991-92, and going to the NCAA tournament. As we lost Popeye, it was critical that we had a big recruiting class. And Eddie Fields and I, Coach Edgar, worked hard I think we brought in 8 or 9 guys, and one of them was number 5, Marcus Brown. And he was literally 155 pounds, 6'2", high school post player. And Scott looked at me very funny when I told him that we needed to be signing him. I never saw him make a shot outside of 10 feet, I don't think, in high school, but he had that uncanny ability of leadership. His team won a state championship, and also he was so competitive that he would refuse to lose whatever he was playing at. A quick story about Marcus, Coach Edgar had almost messed the whole thing up by leaving at halftime, and so I'm trying to make it up with Miss Brown, and so he'd coming on his visit, and I think we've got to do something special to turn his kid. And we had that pretty little model of the arena that was going to be built in the office. And, it wasn't going to get built for 3 or 4 years, but we told every player that came through that, they were going to get to play in that facility. So I really didn't know that they were buying it. So I had Marcus's visit, I had a construction guy get a bulldozer and come over here right where we are and scrape the dirt around a little bit. And so when Marcus came on his visit, we drove by and pointed out, right over there where the arena's going to be. I heard him tell his mom in the back seat, "I want to play in that arena." Well, he never quite made it to play in the arena, but he did come to Murray State, and what an outstanding career, an outstanding young man, number 5, Marcus Brown is. I'm going to close. I've got quite a few stories, but it's time to go. One thing I want to say about Scott Edgar is, you ask every coach in the room tonight if they could pick one thing that would make a difference for their teams in winning games, they would all come back to the same thing, and that is getting your kids to play harder than they ever thought they could. Pretty simple, really. We weren't the best at, Coach Prohm talked about hedging ball screens, and they'd use all these fancy terms, and we didn't block out real well. But Coach Edgar's teams played harder than the opponent every night. Sometimes you ran out of talent, but it wasn't because of lack of effort. And I think that, that will be his legacy here, is those teams played extremely hard. He loved those players off the court like you've never seen. Fans didn't see that. They saw him stomping around up and down the sidelines and screaming and hollering. But when those kids got off the court, they were in his home and they were family. And so when times were tough in their lives, they knew that they could depend on Scott Edgar. And Coach, we want to honor you with a toast tonight. There's glasses, if everyone can raise your glass with something in it. And once again, they want everyone to hang around if you want to and get autographs and sign. But here's to Coach Edgar. Thanks for bringing fast break basketball to Racer Arena. Your work ethic, your devotion to your family will forever be remembered at Murray State University. Cheers. Thank you for coming. Thank you for this event. I've told the former players and coaches that are here, they are the key to this. It is so dynamic to see Popeye and Isaiah and Marcus, all the guys through the years, Nathan Howard, every one of them that we've got to see tonight. Keep coming back to this and tell your teammates. Thanks for coming. Thank you.